What a beautiful ball. Now it's Cristiano Ronaldo with a chance maybe to seal it, and he has taken it. Lahm in all kinds of space. Lahm, Muller through. Muller could be embarrassing. It's three. Tony Kroos. Olivier Giroud. Barkley's found Klein with a speedy burst, and that's terrific from Vardy. Oh, what a goal by Jamie Vardy.
Hello, welcome to day 5. It's hashtag TFHP Euros, or the Football Hipsters podcast, whichever you prefer. You can say or call us whatever you like. I am your host, Kris, and as I said, we're on to the 5th day of the tournament, and I've got 2 gentlemen with me once again this evening to go through today's games, and a little bit of extra afterwards as well. So I've got Tom back again. Evening, Tom.
What's up?
And I've got Ross making his return after a well-earned couple of days off. After evening, Ross, I should say, not afternoon.
Well, either way, good evening.
Yeah, I'm sure it's afternoon for some people listening to this, so good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Right then, so we had the final first games of the first stage tonight and this afternoon. We had Hungary, Austria, and Portugal, Iceland. So we'll start with the earlier game. Tom, this is going to be a bit painful. I apologise, but Austria 0, Hungary 2. I think it's safe to say this was the first proper upset of the tournament so far. Tom, what happened to your Austrian boys?
Oh, it was horrible. No, it was as we say that Hungary were the team that were expected to be the whipping boys of the group. Really, I mean, you've got Iceland, Portugal. Iceland had a great campaign going into it, and Portugal we know about, and Austria also had a great campaign. We've gone over it many times, and Hungary got through with a qualification, and the team isn't really with any recognised quality in it. I thought it was going to be the perfect game for Austria to start moving forwards and getting back onto some decent form, but it didn't turn out that way. The first 30 seconds, Alaba hit the post, and I was like, well, this is looking good. It's going how I expect. Austria on the attack, looking to dominate the game. But it wasn't, if anything, it was one of the most even matches of the tournament. In terms of both teams had the same number of shots, it was quite end-to-end. The difference was Hungary just took the chances they had. I always pronounce his name right. Is it Salai? Is that how I pronounce his name?
That's the one, yep.
Yeah, is he at Hoffenheim now? Or something like that?
Yes, so he certainly was. I will look it up, but I'm pretty sure he is.
But no, he got through, a great ball through and finished brilliantly past Alma, and Alma was okay throughout the game. Their keeper, whose name escapes me, but I love the fact that I've heard that he always wears trackies in matches, which is brilliant. I want to get his name up now. Kirali is his name, and he's in his 40s now, and he had an excellent game, really commanded his box, and then we thought we'd scored for Hinteregger, and it turned out that Dragovic had got himself sent off, which was brilliant for us. So that was a second yellow, which, to be honest, it was really quite harsh for a second yellow. And then right at the end, when Austria are piling forwards to get on the attack, Hungary run up the other end, and Steiber excellently finished with a little chipped effort over Alma, and they made it 2-0 and finished it off. So really quite disappointing.
Yeah, I think disappointing is a good word to use. But Ross, looking at it from a different perspective, Hungary, obviously there were some impressive performances. Salazar was one of them. He's actually at Hanover, by the way, so he was at Hoffenheim, but he's gone to Hanover. But a couple of impressive performances. The one that stood out for me is Kleinheisler, I think that's how you pronounce it, the midfielder. They just look better all over the pitch, Hungary. What did you make of them as a man who surely would appreciate the underdog?
Yeah, it was very interesting to watch them because, like Tom said, we all expected them to get absolutely caned, not just in this group, but in the Euros if they were still in it after the groups. So it was really, really interesting to watch a team that no one really fancied, no one really knew a lot about, that had some very ageing and low quality talent individually in the team, to turn in a performance against a much fancied Austria side, who I have to say were as bad disappointing as Belgium were day before now. So it was fascinating to watch Hungary play their game and show Austria how to move in banks and how to defend. It was wonderful as a fan of Championship football and the kind of talents that they have. It was so nice to see a team turn up and say to a bigger side, well, you may have better individuals, but we're a better unit.
Yeah, team ethic, team performance, and it was quite a fiery game, as Tom alluded to there. Dragovic sent off for 2 bookable offences. Who's got him in their fantasy team again? Oh, Ross, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Give them time. Give them time. They will gel.
They will come good. A couple of yellow cards for him, and one for Nemeth of Middlesbrough, who you'll know well, of course. But they're managed by a German coach. I wonder if there's a bit of German efficiency in there. But I was just want to get your guys' thoughts. I mean, Tom, sort of switching back to Austria just for a second. This result, does this now pile on the pressure for them? Because their next game is Portugal, which we'll touch on in a minute. But that's going to be probably their toughest test of the group, and they're going into it now probably needing to take at least something from it. So are you any sort of worried, or any part of you worried about that game now?
Yeah, I was worried before we kicked off today, to be honest. I mean, of the form that we were in beforehand, clearly is emphasised by this really quite poor result. And you say Portugal the hardest team, it could miraculously turn out that Hungary are the hardest team to play. We just don't know what's going to happen. I'm sure we'll go into the Portugal game in a minute, but I think there's areas that Austria can exploit in that Portugal team. I think that they're a bit weak on their right hand side. You could look to go down there, but I think Colin needs to change it up a bit, because we just lacked a bit of pace and a bit of steel. Arnautovic had a decent game, but we just sort of need to more incisive, more quicker passing, and more accurate, because there were so many misplaced passes in the game. It was quite embarrassing at times. Arnautovic, I mentioned, probably needs to be more unselfish. I felt we did hold on to the ball for a bit too long. But yeah, the pressure really is going to be on Austria now to get a result against Portugal. If you can get a draw against Portugal and then win against Iceland, that is probably enough to send you through. Possibly second, most likely with that third qualifying spot, depending on how it works. I'm not 100%. I'm not sure anyone actually is, but other than John probably. But no, it's going to be tricky for them. And to be honest, on today's performance, if they don't turn it around, they haven't got a hope in hell.
No, it's definitely going to put that sort of extra pressure on that game. But Portugal weren't exactly sort of blowing everyone out the water. Again, we'll come on to that in a second. But Ross, from Hungary's point of view, does this put them now in a position that they might not have expected to be in? Because they're now top of the group as it stands, and they're in that position now where they can kind of relax, but equally they know if they get another win, they're probably through. So I think it's their first win in goals in the competition since I think it was 1964 tonight, or this afternoon. So what do you think? Are they going to be under pressure for different reasons now?
I don't know. I think they might fancy their chances now. Frankly, I think they'll give it a right go. Personally, I think Iceland is the toughest game they've got left in this group, because they'll have seen the way Iceland performed against Portugal this evening, and they'll feel they can do the same thing. Realistically speaking, Portugal are definitely going to need to come out of the blocks and try and take advantage of the star power they have. But as Hungary showed against Austria, it's difficult to break this team down. So personally, I think that they will probably relish the position they're in now. If they can get 2 points out of the next 2 games, that's fantastic. I mean, even a point will probably get them across the line. So I think they'll love the position they're in. They're still the underdogs, regardless of their position in the group at the moment. So I think this plays right into their hands.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right. So, excuse me. So as we say, Austria are going to face Portugal next up. That's going to be a real crunch clash for them, and as we said, the other tie, giving Hungary every opportunity as they play Iceland. And in fairness, you could say Iceland will now have every opportunity as well if they can get results. So that leads us into the other game, which was this evening. And we saw Portugal enter the competition. Now, a lot of people, us included, said during the preview show, Portugal have got obviously Cristiano. They've got plenty of other players that are talented: Renato Sanchez, Rafa Guerreiro, Nuno Gomes. I mean, the list is endless. They've got a lot of talent in the squad. However, yet again tonight, they kind of flattered to deceive. Tom, what did you think of a start with Portugal? We'll come on to Iceland, but what did you think of Portugal? I mean, it just almost seemed like the same thing all over again, didn't it?
Yeah, it was. It's hard to, when you watch Portugal, it's like, oh, what's Ronaldo going to do? Because that's what you focus on. He's the biggest guy at the tournament in terms of quality, as we know. So all the focus is naturally going to be on him. They created a lot of chances, though. I mean, in the first half, Ronaldo hit that ball over, then Danny headed straight at the keeper. It was a brilliant save, to be fair. He came back across his goal to make up for his name. Hal Dawson, is that how you pronounce it, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
But he made a good save, and then the goal came from Danny. Ronaldo in the second half had a great chance of his header, headed it straight at the keeper again. So it's not like they didn't create enough chances to win the game. It's just a typical fact that without Ronaldo, they haven't really got that clinical person. And to be honest, they played an odd formation. Like they obviously played with Nani and Ronaldo as two sort of strikers, and it's odd because obviously they're both wingers naturally. And they haven't really got that focal point. I mean, if Ronaldo played his natural position on that left-hand side with his ability to feed in players, because he does do his fair bit of assisting throughout the league with the likes of Benzema at Real Madrid. But if they had someone like that to really focus their attack strength through, instead of playing it to Ronaldo to do his tricks and stuff and stay on the ball for as long as he possibly wants to, then they might have done a lot better. But the focus just seems to be all around getting Ronaldo on the ball in positions he's not really comfortable with in the way that he is at Real Madrid, and that really is quite a negative factor for them.
Tom, I don't know if you'd agree with this, considering you see a lot more of Ronaldo at Madrid than I do. But when I watch him play for Madrid and when I watch him play for Portugal, I see someone that's looking for the team to help him out. And when I see him at Real Madrid, I see someone that's taking the game by the scruff of the neck and taking the lead. Is that a difference that I'm just making up, or is that something that does translate to you?
No, I think it does. I think with you make the point about taking the scruff of the neck with Real Madrid. He knows he's not Real Madrid. There's so many other superstars in there, and he knows that he's got the quality around him to do what he wants, play his game, and he knows that, say if something does go wrong, there's plenty of people around him that's got the quality to help out. With Portugal, he sees Portugal as Ronaldo. That is him. He feels so much pressure under himself to try and carry this team, the weight of all these supporters knowing that everything's going through him. I don't think if you went to a Portugal game, you'd see a Portugal fan without Ronaldo on the back of their shirt, because it's just how it is in that country. And it's probably a factor of having more pressure on him there. But for me, if you're the best player in the world, you really should be trying to cope with that pressure in a better way and not. He's probably not helped out by the formation, as I've said. I really think it's better if you play him in his natural left-hand side. But yeah, I think it's a great point you make about it, and it's just a different role than what he has, not just physically on the pitch, but psychologically as well.
Yeah, it's just very interesting to watch him tonight. Is that whenever I have seen him for Real, he gets the ball, say, 30 yards from goal, and he'll make a run. He'll try and cut inside, or he'll go outside to create some space for someone. But with Portugal, he seems to be holding the ball up. He's a bit more conservative. He's even dragging it back. It just seems like he's two different players for national and club level.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I completely agree.
I think the same could be said for Zlatan and Sweden as well. I think it's exactly the same with. I suppose some of the way you're going to look at it is if you look at what Zlatan plays with at PSG compared to Sweden, and if you look at what Ronaldo plays with at Real as opposed to Portugal. I know Portugal have got some good talented players, but they haven't got Toni Kroos and Modric behind them. And similarly PSG have got Matuidi and Verratti and Di Maria sort of feeding Zlatan. So I suppose it's a little bit like that. Sweden and Portugal are the two clubs when you think of one-man teams. Even though I hate that expression, they are the two clubs you always think of. With Wales shortly behind, but I'm sure the Welsh will not thank me for saying that. Ross, let's touch on Iceland though, because this was a game that ended in a 1-1 draw, thanks to some comically terrible defending from one of Drew's favourites, actually, Varinha. Well, I say very favourites, one of the players he's watched in Varinha, who, whenever I've seen him play for Wolfsburg, I think it is, he's always played as more of an attacking, either right wing back or right midfielder. Yet Portugal deployed him as a right back. And boy, did that cost them for the equaliser from Bjarnason, who has lovely hair, by the way. What did you think of that goal and indeed Iceland's performance?
Well, if he was mainly playing right back, I didn't see him for that. He was in Bjarnason. Yeah, Bjarnason. He had just had so much space. It was almost silly on international level. But at the same time, you've got to credit the finish, because that's not an easy strike to pull off, as Houlihan showed the other day. It's very, very tricky to get right, and full credit to him for getting it. But I mean, Iceland, I think we said on the preview show that they could be real underdogs, especially in this group with some of the other teams in and around, and they really did prove it. I don't think they were overly concerned with too much. I think the only real chance I can remember Portugal scaring them with was Nani in the first half. I don't remember Ronaldo having too many clear-cut chances. I don't really remember too many from any midfielders or defenders either. So for Iceland, this is not only just a big point for them and their campaign, not just for them as players, but this is a massive point for the country. You know, the sheer amount of people that have turned out to this tournament. Was it 6% of the entire?
10%, I think it was.
10% of all of Iceland was in the stadium tonight, or some silly statistic like that. So this is huge. It's a famous point for Iceland, and they were fully deserving of it.
Yeah, I think I think it's 10% of the country has gone to the Euros. Along with Kerry Katona selling hot dogs, I think. Oh no, that's a different Iceland. Sorry, terrible joke there. But that's
they're going to wear out soon.
They are, aren't they? Yeah, absolutely. Mum has indeed gone to Iceland, but no, I mean, super performance from them, and they could have been one up. Let's be honest, early on that chance for I think it was Sigurdsson, wasn't it, who cut in?
Yeah.
And forced a good save from Rui Patricio. But yeah, are we all kind of agreed that Portugal largely didn't impress then? I mean, I genuinely thought they could be a real dark horse this year, because I just thought that they were more of a team rather than just Ronaldo plus 10. But looking at it tonight, it just seemed, I don't know, just seemed disjointed again. So are we all agreement, yes or no?
Yeah. I'm disappointed in Portugal, but to be honest, I'm more shocked about the people saying how much of a shock it is. Because, I mean, when we did our preview show, we were talking about Iceland as we thought they were dark horses, and they had a good qualifying campaign. I mean, they got through in a really quite tough qualifying group. I mean, the Netherlands didn't make it, and Turkey just got through in the qualification playoff, and I think it's Czech Republic came top of their group. So it wasn't a hard group, and then they've come into this, and everyone's still rating them so low in terms of their quality. But I think they've got some good players, and I think that they showed that the quality on the pitch. But as you say, it's disappointing with Portugal's. As we said, it's finally a time where they've got players like João Marino and Andre Gomes, and whose pass was brilliant for the goal. But it's again, I think it's what Ross brought up about Ronaldo. It's still the focus is all on him, and it's unless that gets lessened, it probably won't change until he finally moves on. But he sucks sort of the flowing and quality out of that side. So it's quite disjointed in a way.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Ross, are you sort of on that same bandwagon? You know, Portugal largely have disappointed. And more importantly, do you think that potentially Hungary and Iceland could be the two teams to get out of this group now?
Well, on Portugal, I think it is fair to say that Ronaldo is their biggest star, but he's also their biggest handicap, because until he goes, it's always going to be about him, and they're always going to try and find a way to bring out his best qualities. But when he goes, you might see a bit more of a cohesive unit, which is a real shame for a player of that quality. Can't seem to fit it in like Bale does at Wales. But for Iceland, it's huge, and like I said earlier, it does open this group up so much. Personally, I think the toughest game now is going to be Iceland and Hungary, because they're both going to be desperate for 3 points to guarantee it. A point might even take them over the line, because they both seem very comfortable being the underdogs, being on the counter attack, sitting deep. So it's huge. It's huge, that next game. I think that's bigger than Austria Portugal for me.
Yep, I tend to agree. And of course, there's four third best teams, I think, go through. So, that's very much up for grabs, particularly on that side of things as well. So, interesting. Okay, so that wraps up the games for today. So we don't want to leave you too soon, because although we want to do shortened pods, I mean, 18 minutes is just not enough for anybody of a footballing hipster persuasion. So what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly just rattle through the second games that are coming up, just in a long list, so everyone knows who's playing who. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to give Tom and Ross the opportunity. Guys, I want you to pull out 2 player names for me. I want you to tell me the two players. One, the best player that you didn't hit or you hadn't heard of before the tournament that's impressed you the most in the first games, and then also your overall player that's impressed you the most. That can be anyone. So if you get 2 names in your head, and while you're thinking of those, I will tell our listeners that tomorrow being Wednesday the 15th, we have got Russia and Slovakia, Romania and Switzerland, France and Albania. On Thursday, we see the England-Wales match. Ukraine face Northern Ireland. Germany face Poland. 2 big derbies, isn't she, on that day? Friday sees Italy back in action against the Swedes. Czech Republic face Croatia. Spain play Turkey. And then on the Saturday, Belgium, Republic of Ireland, Iceland, Hungary, that big game Ross was talking about. And Portugal, Austria completes the second stage of the first round of games. So, or the second round of games of the first stage, I should say. So that's the fixtures, and that's what's coming up. Right then, gentlemen, we will obviously have a look ahead to tomorrow. But before we do you have some names for me? Are you both happy? You do.
Go on.
Let's start with Ross then. So let's start with your player that you've never heard of before, and now you've seen it and been really impressed with.
This one might seem a bit silly to some people because I'm sure there'll be loads of people that have heard of him, but I'd never heard of him before. So I'm going to go with Milik of Poland. I was so impressed with the way he played. He looked a class above in that game for Poland, and completely overshadowed Lewandowski for me. So I'm going to have to go with him as my player that I didn't know of.
Brilliant, I like it. And Drew will be happy with that actually, because I know he's a big fan. Tom, have you got one that is unknown that you really, really liked?
Yeah, funnily enough, it's also another Polish player.
Oh, you're going to go for the same one as me, I bet you. Go on.
Kapustka.
Yes, you are, yeah.
He was brilliant, I thought, in the middle of the park. And John talked up how he was expecting Zielinski to do too well. And obviously, Kaputska's taken that place in the midfield, and he didn't look out of place for a youngster at all. And to come from such an unknown, not to say unknown, but the Polish league, it's impressive how he commanded that midfield so well and just didn't bulk under the physical pressure that he was against from the Northern Irish. So I thought he played excellently.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that one, both of you. I thought Kapustka was really good and genuinely a player that I hadn't seen, and that's going some because I am very sad and watched lots and lots of games, but yeah, he was one I hadn't seen. I feel like I should try and find one other that now I can't have the same answer, but while I'm thinking of one, what about your overall best player of the tournament so far? I'll go in reverse order. So, Tom, who's the one that stood out for you so far in this first round of games?
Oh, it's tricky. For me, it's between Kris and Iniesta. Kris had a brilliant game for Germany and really commanded them at field. I think I'm giving it to Iniesta, not just because I'm biased towards Spain, but I felt that Kris was given so much space in the Ukraine game that he was allowed to do that sort of thing. Iniesta was put under a lot of pressure by the Czech defence and midfield, still managed to get in and out of the midfield and away from players. I think someone put a brilliant tweet out of it. It was a picture of some things never change, and it's just this image of Iniesta with about 5 opposition players around him in each of the last international tournaments, because that's just his game. He gets the ball under pressure and moves it so easily and freely, and he got the assist for the winner of the goal in that match that was perfect. So yeah, for me, it's Iniesta.
Fair enough. You're not biased at all.
No,
it's absolutely fair. What about you, Ross? Have you got sort of somebody that's really stood out for you overall?
Yeah, a couple of honourable mentions first, because I think this is quite tough. Although there hasn't been any real quality standout ones that even the man in the street knows has led up this tournament, there have been a lot of very good individuals. So little shout out to Brozovic of Italy, who I thought was fantastic the other day, and Toni Kroos, who I don't get to see.
Brozovic.
Oh, Brozovic was Croatian, of course he is. Toni Kroos, I don't get to see a lot of him in La Liga because I don't really get on with the La Liga setup. But I know. But Toni Kroos was very, very comfortable, and I was talking to Tom on the WhatsApp group. I couldn't believe that Real Madrid are apparently willing to lose him. So honourable mentions, but for me, it's got to be Jeff Hendrick of the Republic of Ireland, because I see him a lot in the Championship, and I know he's a good player, and I know he's quite silky, and he's very, very good offensively. But to see him step up on the international stage, the first time Republic of Ireland had been in the tournament for God knows how long, he looked so comfortable. And if I'm a team coming up from the Championship, if I'm a team lower down in the league, in the Premier League, I'm looking at Jeff Hendrick in this tournament, because he took that game by the scruff of the neck, and he was so impressive to watch.
So I've got to say that when we did, I picked Kapustka for my thing, but I'd never heard of him before. So he could have easily got into that category for me. I thought he was brilliant against Sweden, especially in the first half. So.
Yeah, he was very good. Another one with good hair as a theme developing here.
Just because it's got long hair doesn't mean it's good hair.
Exactly. I've got to stand up for my hairy friends. Okay, so I'll pull 2 different names out there just to be different. I agree with you both on Kapustka. I agree on Hendrick. I definitely agree on Toni Kroos. Definitely. I'm going to pick out my the player overall. Again, I'm probably going to be biased, but I'm going to go Dimitri Payet. Simply because of everything that meant and the way he just kept going in that game for a player for me that really I didn't have starting the tournament, I have to be honest about that. And also for a player who's often had his attitude questioned, and rightly so, has to be said, in his early career, he's kicked on. Now, whether it's because he knows his national team manager is in France and glaring over the stands at him, whether he's trying to keep up his good form, I don't know. But the emotion he showed and to keep going and keep grafting to get that winning goal for France was massive. So I'm gonna go with him for my player so far. Although I have to say Bonucci was running him close. He was exceptional last night. As far as a player, I wouldn't say I'd never heard of him, but a less fashionable player that not many people would have heard of. It's our good friend Oleg Shatov. And again, BBC, it's not Shatov, it is Shatov. I'm sorry. It's an unfortunate name, but that is his name. I thought he was very, very good against England. Really, really good. In a tournament we're looking out for, the Kovalenkos, the Zinchenkos, the Yarmolenkos, Konoplyankas, those Ukraine sort of flying wingers, if you will, that they were the ones that were supposed to shine. I thought Shatov was really good against England. He controlled the game well. His movement was exceptional. He got them out well. I think he's a player that potentially could grow into the tournament, depending on how long Russia stick around. So he's definitely a player that I think would suit a move to a slightly bigger league.
I thought Smolov was good in that team as well, actually.
Yes, yeah, he was. There was a few good Russian performances that night, it has to be said, and probably overlooked by, in fairness, how well England played. But Russia, I wouldn't say impressed me, but he was one that just caught my eye. So we'll keep a lookout for him. Okay, so there's a little glimpse into our minds as to players that have impressed us a little bit. Right, let's get your thoughts then on the games tomorrow, which are coming up, because we're back to 3 games again tomorrow, are we not? Yes, we are. So we have got Romania, Switzerland. No, it's just 2 games tomorrow. Oh no, it is 3. Sorry, Russia, Slovakia is first up at 2:00. My eyes playing tricks on me. Ross, who do you think the pressure is on this one? Because Slovakia probably you'd suggest need to get at least a win, judging by the last fixture being against England. Russia have played arguably the strongest team in the group in England. So who's the pressure on to win this game?
It's tricky because I think Russia will be more cautious of Wales than they will be of Slovakia. So I think Russia are probably going to try and take this game by the scruff of the neck. But at the same time, that plays into Slovakia's hands as well. But pressure, it's tough. I suppose you'd have to say Slovakia simply because they don't have any points yet, and if they're going to try and sneak through in this new third place qualifier, whatever the hell it is, then they're going to need something from Russia. So possibly Slovakia, but frankly, I think both of these teams are going to really want this. I'm not sure there's any more pressure on one than the other.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point, and hopefully it'll be a slightly more open affair than the 2 games. Although, in fairness, I suppose the Wales-Slovakia game was fairly open. But Tom, what about the second game then, which is the 5:00 game, which is Romania-Switzerland? On paper, doesn't look anything particularly exciting, but weirdly, when 2 teams that are not particularly fancy team up, it usually ends in a good game. So, what do you anticipate getting from this game?
Yeah, well, I think you can't really count out Romania. I think even though they lost, showed a good performance against France and could have easily gone ahead in that match. And then you got Switzerland, who people would naturally look as the favourites in that match, but they weren't that convincing against Albania. And considering Albania also went down to 10 men quite early on, they certainly didn't take advantage of that fact. And in the end, Albania really missed a good chance to level that match. So I think Switzerland will look at this game to really stamp their hand on saying we are a better team than what you've shown. But Romania are really quite good defensively as well. I think they had the best defensive record in the qualifying. I think they conceded only 7 goals. So it's going to be tough for Switzerland to break them down. But I'd still probably go for a Switzerland win and probably another 1-0 as well.
Interesting. I fancy Romania to get something from that game, so I wonder. That could be a tough assignment.
But you did say no Spanish teams would win a European competition.
that is true.
I'm not letting this go.
No. It's all right. I can edit that out. No problem. What about? I'll get both your thoughts on the final game, because this is probably the one that a lot of the casual audience are going to be watching, which is France-Albania in the evening. Let's go in reverse order. So Tom, I'll start with you. Do you anticipate this being the cruise that most people expected to be, because they played in a friendly not so long ago, and I think I'm right in saying, actually, I think Albania got something from France before. I have to look that up, but they certainly played in a friendly prior to the qualifying. In fact, yes, they did beat France 1-0 back in June of 2015, so around about this time last year. So do you think it'll be a cakewalk, or do you fancy France to struggle against the Albanians, struggle to break them down maybe?
Am I right in saying that Sano is suspended if you got a red card, or is that not a thing?
I think he will be, because it's the next game, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah,
pretty sure he will be.
I'm assuming there's suspensions if you got a red card. But honestly, I think we've seen some tight matches across the whole of the Euros so far, and I think this is the one I'd highlight as where you could see more of a comfortable victory. I think that over the whole pitch, France outmastered them in quality, and we've questioned France's defence, but even that defence is better than Albania's, and I can't see any other than a France win here at all.
I think I'm kind of with you. Ross, do you give any hope to the underdogs? And if you do, what do you think they have to do to keep France at bay for this game?
Well, they need to be studying the tapes of Romania, because Romania, albeit they lost, they were fantastic against France and they really did nullify them. So I don't put it past Albania to cause France a lot of problems. I still believe France will win this, but I think it'll be much like the Romania game. It'll only be by a goal if it's anything. So I don't think Albania are going to roll over here. I still fancy them to prove a real sticking point for France, but at the same time, considering the sheer golfing quality, you'd like to think France will get past them nonetheless.
Yes, I happen to concur with that. And of course, if France win that tomorrow, I think that guarantees secure pass through to the next round. So, yes, you would expect them to turn out performance. There's rumours they're going to change the side around a little bit. There's quite a lot of talk that both Griezmann and Pogba could miss out, which would be very interesting.
They deserve to. So
yeah, agreed. That will be interesting to see what Deschamps does. We shall see.
I was about to say there'd be riots in the street if Pogba was dropped, but there are. So.
Yeah, very fair point. Yeah, less said about that, the better. I suppose we should just touch on the fact that Russia have been warned, essentially, that you do anything else and you're on the way home. The lot of you, basically, by UEFA. Yes, suspended sentence, isn't it? Apparently, that if anything does happen.
There's been trouble today in Lille, but it's to do with UEFA can only act if it's within a stadia than outside.
Yes, yeah. I think I speak for a lot of people. I just say, grow up, people. Please, just grow up. If anybody from the Russian KGB or God knows what else is listening, I didn't say that.
He lives in Plymouth.
Good luck finding me. I shall bolt the doors. Right, so that's tomorrow's action then. Now, before we wrap up, you know what time it is, boys and girls. It's that time where I find out our hipsters of the day. Now, in theory, it should be easier today because we've only had the 2 games. So I fully expect you to both go for the same team, but I bet you any money you don't. So, Tom, who is your hipster's choice of the day?
I think I'm going to have to go with Bjarnason of Iceland. I thought he had a good game, playing on that left-hand side and really created a lot of problems down that side for them. And am I right in saying no? He got the goal, didn't he? So
yeah,
he's got his goal, and I thought he was just someone I hadn't really heard of, and he did impress me. And he was just quite of an issue on that side for Portugal. And so yeah, I'll give it to him.
Fair enough. And Ross, who is your hipster's choice of the day?
I don't think you're going to pick mine this pod, Kris. Zoltan Gira is my pick. Yes. I thought for a player that was thrown out by nearly every Premier League club that he played for and left on free transfers and was told that he wasn't good enough anymore, I thought he made Austria look very, very casual from midfield. And for someone of his age and his experience and someone in a team that isn't expected to achieve all that much, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. And he would still fit in with a lot of good Premier League sides. So for me, it's Zoltan Gira.
Sorry, Tom, but I'm going to have to go Ross on this one.
I actually agreed with it.
Yeah, I mean, a nod to Iceland and indeed to Bjarnason. I mean, they were fabulous today, Iceland. But yeah, Zoltan Gira for a guy who's, as Ross said, everything you just said there is right. I don't think anyone really expected a performance of that high a level. I will just give a nod to, I've forgotten the bloody guy's name already because it's such a difficult name to pronounce, but that chap in midfield for Hungary. Let's find his name again.
Is it Kleinheisler?
That's the Badger. Yes, Kleinheisler. I thought he was really, really good. But yeah, absolutely. Zoltan Gira just ran that game. And Gabor Kirali's jogging bottoms also get an honourable mention because whether they're lucky or not, they are horrific. I mean,
Someone was moaning about it, and I was like, I'd never go and goal without wearing trackies.
No, I mean, he is. I think I'm right saying today, him turning out for Hungary today, he's officially the oldest ever player at the European Championships. I think he's 40. I shall check that, but yeah, I mean that's he is indeed 40 years old, born on the 1st of April '76. So there you go.
Older than you.
I know. And name the 3 Premier League clubs he played for.
Oh, are they
Sorry,
current?
4 Premier League clubs he played for.
Clubs.
Well, actually, one of them wasn't in the Premier League at the time, but...
Oh, okay. I'm going to go Everton.
Nope.
This could go all day, to be honest.
Do you know Eddie Ross?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I wasn't listening to the question because I was too busy trying to find out how much money clubs had spent on Zoltan Gera over his career.
Cool. We'll come back to that. Gavel Kirali played for 4 English clubs. Can you name them?
Palace, are they one of them?
They are, yep.
No, the only one, Fulham?
Yep, Fulham, yep. Back as soon as 2014-15, actually.
Yeah, those are the 2 that I vaguely remember his name from, but I can't think of any other 2.
He also played for Aston Villa in 2006-7 and 6-7 twice, 2 different spells. And he also went to West Ham but never actually played. So there you go. Interesting. He was on the bench 3 times, but that doesn't really count. Well, there you go.
How probably could have done with him.
Yeah. How about this Zoltan Gera stat then? How much has he gone for?
From what I can just see on Wikipedia, and don't get me wrong, that's not the best not the best place to be looking for something this important. But from what I can see, across his entire career, only one club has actually bought him for money, and that was West Brom in 2004, who paid 1.5 million for him. Every other club has picked him up on a free transfer, from what I can see here.
That is quite impressive, isn't it? Quite impressive. So there you go, people. Sign him up. Get him in. I shall give him a try down here if needs be. Good stat, that. Interesting. Well, there we go. We managed to get quite a lot out of today, seeing as there's only 2 games. I think it's fair to say not many people would have sort of seen today as their must-watch games, but they were 2 pretty entertaining games, it has to be said. So fair play to all teams involved. Good. Okay. That's pretty much it for us today then. We're not going to do a fantasy football update at this stage again because...
Please don't.
No, because we're all doing badly. We want to sort of let it run, so we'll probably give you another little update midweek next week. Just another quick reminder, as John alluded to last night, we're still having problems with iTunes. If we have got anybody technical listening who knows what the issue is, please do just drop us a quick tweet or a DM or one of us personally directly, because we're struggling to find out what the problem is. They are dropping into the feeds, but if you don't hear this episode tonight, it should be up tomorrow via Stitcher and via the iTunes store, but you can get us immediately on YouTube. So we'll probably post the link to the YouTube page when we post this out, and what we'll say to our listeners is, if you want to hear us straight away, YouTube or the website are the best 2 places until iTunes sorts itself out. So many apologies for that, but it's out of our control, unfortunately. Thanks, Mr. Appleman, whatever his name is. I forget his name. I don't care. Anyway, thank you very much to my 2 compadres for joining me this evening. So thank you, Ross, and thank you, Tom.
Pleasure as ever.
No worries.
You will both be back later on this week. We have got a special guest coming on Friday. We're working on another guest possibly for Thursday, so stay tuned for that. So you'll hear from us soon. So all that remains to be said is for me to say, keep your pipe stoked and your satchel clean. Butchered that one. We've been the Football Hipsters. This has been the Euros podcast, day 5, and we shall return tomorrow, day 6.
Drops for Fabregas, who looks for Iniesta, who's onside! Spain score! Hazard, well, he is a match winner. Is this the moment? It is! Divock Origi! There, and now Pilla, and they now have the breakthrough. Fail. It's a great effort! Oh my word, what a goal!